They stealing, man. They out here stealing. The Browns have officially stolen Kevin Stefanski's pass defensive game coordinators on draft night. His pass game coordinator, the staff there on the defensive side, is just got taken, and the Browns are going to hire him as their next defensive coordinator. So you lose potentially with James Pierce Jr., your best defensive player, with James Pierce with 10.5 sacks. Obviously, Xavier Watts is still a dog, and then you lose your pass game coordinator, which is a part of defending the pass game. Obviously, sacking the quarterback is also really good when defending the pass. So not a great start defensively when it comes to the Falcons, but it seems like the Browns get an up-and-coming riser, someone who has not been a defensive coordinator, though. So Mike Rutenberg is his name. He started in the NFL in 2003, interned for Joe Gibbs in Washington, really known as Robert Saleh's prodigy. If you don't know Robert Saleh, obviously he's the new head coach for our guy Cam Ward over there with the Titans, but, defensive-minded guy, really potent defenses, right? He's a 49ers pass specialist in 2020, Jets linebackers coach 21 through 24, expected the same scheme 4-3 as the Browns, but more of a vibrant personality for the Browns defense. So something a little different there as they try to replace Jim Schwartz. Mike Rutenberg is a Falcons pass game coordinator, worked with Robert Saleh at several stops, was a finalist with Jason Tarver, Corey Undelin, and one job with strong set of interviews. So the Haslams decide on who they want to lead their team, and this is very big. The reason why I bring up Kevin Stefanski is the same reason why I want to praise Todd Monken for this, right? Being able to handle this relatively quickly, right? But, when you're an offensive-minded coach who doesn't have an immediate tie to a defensive, a coordinator or someone that you have picked out as a defensive coordinator, it can be tough because you're an offensive guy. The coaches that you've probably have been underneath you, those positional coaches, those XYZ, they're probably offensive people. You more than likely haven't, as a coordinator, have coached many defensive side of the ball, so your connections typically don't go that deep. So to be able to get that is big. And then for Kevin Stefanski, shout out, you get to keep Jeff Ulbrich. But if you lose, one of the brighter spots of the Atlanta Falcons defense, well, now you're going to have to trust Jeff Ulbrich. But again, that's the advantage there, is that you do have a defensive coordinator who probably has somebody who's ready to put him in that next position. But it can't be denied that Rotenberg is somebody that people are very excited about, or at least he's been a very high-quality piece to other teams. So let's go through it. And by the way, the Ravens staff is getting picked apart. Todd Monken has taken 2 former Ravens. This doesn't really have anything about that. But this article here is actually from the Akron Beacon Journal, and they go way more deeper from the statistical standpoint, as well as what this means for the Browns in totality. So the Browns hire Falcons assistant Mike Rutenberg as defensive coordinator. Todd Monken made his desire clear in his introductory news conference as the Browns head coach, with or without Jim Schwartz as the coordinator. The anticipation was, we're not going to change the system. Schwartz turned out to not be an option because of his own decision to resign in frustration after being passed over for the head coaching job. So the man who did get the head coaching job decided to turn it over to someone who may not come from the exact system Schwartz runs, but something that's almost alike, while also stealing from the new staff of the former Browns head coach. They stealing, man. They out here stealing. The Browns are hiring Mike Rutenberg to be their next defensive coordinator. A source tells the Beacon Journal Rutenberg spent the last season as the defensive pass game coordinator for the Falcons and has been retained along with defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich when Kevin Stefanski was hired with the Falcons' new coach less than 2 weeks after being fired as Cleveland's head coach. The 44-year-old Rutenberg completes the expected trio of coordinators on Monken's first staff. Although the Browns have yet to formally announce any coaching staff moves, it's been confirmed that the Baltimore Ravens run game coordinator Travis Switzer, a University of Akron graduate, is expected. Hey, that's a nice little shout out. Expected to be offensive coordinator and Green Bay Packers assistant special teams coordinator. Byron Storer will be the special teams coordinator. However, it's always been the defensive coordinator's position that has drawn the most interest because of the proven talent and performance on that side of the football. football, especially in Schwartz's 3 seasons as a defensive coordinator. That starts with an attacking defensive front led by 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, unanimous Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, and Defensive Rookie of the Year, Carson Schweringer. I packed his card. Anyway, we ain't gonna get into that. I'm not gonna stress that we're built for the system they're in currently, but they can be rest assured that we're going to keep the same system. We're still going to let them attack. We're still going to get them, let them play free. I can't see that any other way. That's where Rutenberg's connections to an NFL on-field coaching career that started in 2013 as an assistant defensive backs coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars under head coach Gus Bradley comes into focus. That is especially true. Wasn't that right next to Saxonville? What year was Saxonville? Was that 2017 or 2014? Comment down below, what year was the Saxonville Jaguars when they was going crazy with Jalen Ramsey? It was dominating people. Telvin Smith. Under head coach Gus Bradley comes into focus. That's especially true when you see his connection to Robert Saleh, under whom he worked with as a pass game specialist in 2020 with San Francisco, the 49ers, and then as the New York Jets linebackers coach from 2021 to 2024. Obviously, you kind of think you're going to get with him and the way he structures his defense. Then Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rees said November 28th, ahead of the Cleveland game against the 49ers and Saleh, they play a lot of our defense schematically, which is something we're accustomed to seeing. They play hard, they play fast, they rally to the football, they attack you defensively. You know the things Saleh does really well in his pressure packages. And I want to stop right here and speak about it because, you know, one of the bigger issues, or not even bigger issues, but I think bigger negative points you could have about losing Jim Schwartz is that it seemed like immediately either what, you know, Myles Garrett's literally posting, you know, the Popeyes meme of being exhausted and tired of losing the guy. But on top of that, you know, you hear how highly the defensive players have talked about having Jim Schwartz, right? I think even Denzel Ward, you know, in some of the exit interviews to the media spoke about how much he'd love Jim Schwartz to even be the head coach, right? So there has to be a conversation of what not hiring Jim Schwartz and not having him on the roster, what that does to the locker room, right? That was one of the bigger things that I was stressing and talking about when he first didn't get the job and decided, or was at least, you know, thinking about resigning, is that, like, you know, Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, Shelby, like the top defensive players. I mean, Carson Schweringer, like these guys love Jim Schwartz. He's a real players coach in the terms that they really respond to what he does. They want to fight for him. They want to do that. So, you know, it's a risk. It's a gamble to put a different person in that role, specifically because of how much passion they had for him. It's different with Kevin Stefanski, even though there was a lot of positive things to be said about Kevin Stefanski. It really felt different with Jim Schwartz. It almost felt like everybody knew, oh yeah, you know, there's a lot of blame going around. It's not Jim Schwartz's fault. You feel me? So that, I think that's an interesting, you know, way to scheme it. And then on top of that, the fact that, you know, the Browns, I guess, did a good job to at least get someone who's going to attack. Maybe if not schematically, it seems like the philosophy is going to be the same, right? So same, it's still a 4-3 system. By the way, you guys who don't know, that means 4 down defensive linemen, 3 linebackers in their base defensive system, but you know, we can go deeper into that on another video. So they say it's going to be the same 4-3, but there's different things structurally, different things the way they do stuff. So I'm assuming spiritually the same, also the same base defense, but we'll see how that kind of evolves around with the role of the football. There are going to be differences naturally in terms of overall system and scheme. That's inevitable of any coach in any scheme. However, the systems to which Rutenberg has been connected all have a similar DNA. That's including what Bradley's philosophy was in Jacksonville, even if it was a Bob Babich or a Todd Wash in the defensive coordinator's role. That's why Saleh, who worked under Bradley and with the Rutenberg with the Jaguars from 14 to 16, felt comfortable hiring Bradley as his defensive coordinator when he landed the Tennessee Titans job in January. He also interviewed Rutenberg for the role. The Falcons' pass game was the best part of their overall defense, which ranked 13th in passing yards per game, 200.4, and 14th in passing yards per play, 6.44. They were 4th in sack rate at 10.78 and 5th in interception rate at 3.02. While with the Jets, Rutenberg was part of the only defense in the league to rank in the top 5 in total defense over the 3-season stretch from 22 to 24, finishing the 4th in 22 before finishing 3rd in both 23 and 24. He also coached linebackers Quincy Williams, and CJ Mosley, who in 21 and 22 became one of 8 linebacker pairs in the NFL to each record 100 plus tackles, and the only duo with back-to-back 100+ tackle seasons. I came into the league with a lot of athletic ability, but I wasn't a student of the game, and I was moving to a new position, Williams told New York Jets in 2023. Coach Rudy was my first coach coming in, and he was just really patient with me. I just credit to it the hard work of those guys putting it into me, and then them just listening and taking what they said. But I promise they're the ones that made me who I am, basically. A lot of high praise from some high-level football players. And again, more statistics here because I grabbed some as well. When you look at passing defense rank, right, the Falcons are indeed 13th yards as well as passing touchdowns allowed with 27, which is kind of a high-ish number. And then you look at third down defense, and to me, third down defense is a big part of your pass game defense because, you know, it's the obvious pass down. Anything 3rd and 5, beyond 3rd and 4, really, you're expecting a pass game. And the Falcons are at 17, not the greatest, but still, you know, close to the top half, at least mediocre there when it comes to those things. Over 3 seasons combined, the Gents ranked number 1 in total defense and passing defense, number 5 in tackles for loss, number 8 in sacks, number 9 in scoring defense, in addition to finishing 3rd in total defense in 24. The Jets defense was 4th in passing defense, allowing only 192.6 yards per game, while ranking 7th in sacks per pass game attempt at a rate of 8.25%. All right, Rutenberg graduated from Cornell University before being hired into an NFL administrative role in 2003 by Washington coach Joe Gibbs, first as a player personnel intern before spending the 04 and 05 seasons as an administrative assistant to the head coach. He was essentially Gibbs' right-hand man, helping with the team's daily calendar, practice, schedules, presentation, and opposition statistical research. So this is somebody who has a hands-on experience of what it looks like legitimately to build, you know, and script out practice, build and script out an offensive, defensive scheme, and all these different things, like the nitty gritty of football. He's been a part of it starting as an administrative assistant. The first semi-coaching role came at UCLA in 06 as a graduate assistant, which he held for 3 years. He went to New Mexico State in 09 for 4 years as a passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach under head coach Dwayne Walker, with whom Rutenberg worked at Washington, UCLA, and Jacksonville. So a very decorated new defensive player or defensive coach. It really feels like Kevin Stefanski is losing a very bright player, but I'm sure, you know, Old Bridge will be able to find something pretty good there. Which y'all let me know how y'all feel down below. Did the Browns get a gem? Is this guy a guy? I'm kind of liking old Rutenberg. I think they might be able to get something going, man. Y'all let me know how you feel. I like the video if you like it, dislike if you don't, subscribe if you enjoy football content, updates, and things of that nature. Y'all be great. We'll see you next time. Peace.